Hello and welcome to La Rosa Reads. I'm Denise La Rosa, and today I'm going to share all of the books I read in March with all of you. Let's talk books. Yay! So March is my birthday month, and I had a fabulous reading month, and I just felt like it was the greatest gift to read these amazing books that I'm going to share with you today. So in honor and celebration of my birthday, it was Pisces season, and I thought, what better way to celebrate than to have a theme for my birthday month? The theme that I chose was to read 2 books connected to my name. One book with my name in the title, and the other book written by someone with my name. So Denise Williams shares my name, and she has a wonderful romance novel by the title, How to Fail at Flirting. This book was a fun time. Our main character is a professor, actually a math education professor at a university. While she's hanging out at a bar, she runs into Jake and ends up having a great time. So our character Naya and Jake meet by happenstance. Sparks fly, but there is a connection that they have to the university that Naya works at, and that connection could cause a conflict of interest and put her job at stake. Not good, or is it just the beginning of all things good? The book that I read with Denise in the title is Dear Denise, Letters to the Sister I Never Knew. This book, written by Lisa McNair, is about one of the 4 girls who were so tragically taken from us in the 1963 church bombing in Alabama. It was such a time of trials and tribulations and the fight for civil rights. And this event is perhaps one of the most disturbing and most deeply moving for me personally, reading it after the fact, because of course I wasn't born or alive during that time. But this moment, this incident, I always wonder, how are the families living through such a tragedy all these years later? And Lisa shares her thoughts, her letters to her sister, to just talk to her, connect with her in ways that she was unable to because Lisa was born years after Denise's death. I talk about both of these books in depth in my video, Books Connected to My Name. So if you haven't already, be sure to check it out. Another adventure I went on in March was to read all of the nominees for the NAACP Image Award for literary work fiction, outstanding literary work, I should say. There were 2 books that I had already read that were nominees. Those books are Let Us Descend and The Heaven and Earth Grocery Store. So that left me with 3 books that I had to read in March because the award ceremony happened. It took place in March, and I wanted to read and take a guess at which book I thought would be the winner. One of the books that were nominated for this award is a sequel. I didn't realize that until I started embarking up on this journey, and I was like, I need to back it up and read the prequel. And that was really great because it was already in my home library. So I read In Every Mirror She's Black. Y'all, when I tell you this series is chock full of drama, chock full of just profound moments, yet entertaining moments that lead you to engage in introspection, because it's about 3 Black women, 3 individual Black women who are going on 3 very different journeys, but are connected through their Blackness, and a very intriguing character named Yanni. This white Swedish man is connected to all of these women in very different ways, and we see how being Black in Sweden ends up being experienced by all 3 of these women. It is sweeping. I have to say this book was such a satisfying read, and one that just had me turning the pages constantly. I was really concerned because we're talking about 3 different characters, and I tend to not care for books that have so many characters up front and center. It's a lot to keep up with, and these women were leading some complex lives. However, our author does an exquisite job of writing so beautifully about all 3 of these women in a way that really helps their characters be fleshed out and fully explored. And I loved that. So I couldn't wait to dive into the sequel, Everything Is Not Enough, which was nominated for the NAACP Image Award. In Every Mirror She's Black, we have an ending like no other. It was definitely a cliffhanger and left room for us to spend more time with these 3 women, and that we did in Everything Is Not Enough. I have to admit, this one read a little more soap opera-ish compared to In Every Mirror She's Black. I felt like in Every Mirror She's Black, it took a more serious tone. This one, there was a lot to unpack and a lot to get through, given all the things that took place in the previous novel. So these characters, Brittany Ray, Yasmin, and Kimmy, are wildly experiencing life in Sweden. We have Brittany Ray, a Black American woman who gets swept away by Yanni and ends up living a life in Sweden, thousands and thousands miles away and an ocean away from her family. We have Yasmin, who is a Somalian woman that ends up in Sweden. She ends up marrying a Turkish man, having a young child, and also ending up being a caregiver for someone that she met in Sweden and was like the closest person to that individual because she had lost all of her family. Then we have Kimmy, who is a boss lady. She has accepted this job at a marketing firm in Sweden, and she is a Nigerian American woman who looks like she has it all together on the outside, but on the inside, that girl is a hot mess, and I'm talking hot mess express. She hasn't really fully come to terms with who she is, who she wants to be as a professional woman, a Black woman, and a lover. And my goodness, it is a time to be had, you guys. I see why this was a book that was nominated for this NAACP Image Award. It is so, so good. I ended up listening to the audiobook for The House of Eve, and I just cannot tell you how much I thoroughly enjoyed diving into this book, dealing with 2 Black women, actually, in the 1950s, in America, one in Philadelphia, the other one in the Washington, D.C. area, 2 very different women who indirectly have their lives cross paths in a very emotional, unexpected way. So we have Eleanor, who is attending Hampton University. She falls in love with this wealthy Black man who ends up becoming a doctor. Unfortunately, she is struggling with infertility. She wants nothing more than to bring a child into this world. And unfortunately, it is turning out to be quite a struggle for her to do that. Then we have Ruby, who falls in love with this Jewish white man. And of course, this is a time where racism is ever present in America, which makes their romance very challenging to fully experience and enjoy in public, and really has no happy ending in as far as they can feel or see. They can't really see a happy ending happening. And some things happen, and she is forced to do what she has to do to ensure that she ends up going to college and making something of herself despite her circumstances. Oh my goodness. This book is deserving of all the acclaim, all of the love that it has received, including that NAACP Image Award nomination. I am so happy I read The House of Eve. Elizabeth Acevedo is one of my go-to authors. I mean, she could she could write the alphabet, okay? And I will buy the book. And so I was super excited to read her first adult novel, Family Lore, for this whole adventure of reading all the nominees for that award that I've been telling you about. And so that I did. I read Family Lore, and I have to say, for me personally, this wasn't my favorite Elizabeth Acevedo book. In fact, it was my least favorite. It felt disjointed to me, but yet I could love and appreciate the artistic, creative risk she was taking with this book. We're talking about the Martez women. This is a family of women, of sisters, who are just experiencing some magic in their lives as far as like having magical powers. One of those Martez women has the power of predicting and seeing death before it happens. And this happens to be the sister that throws her own wake before she passes. She gets this idea from a Netflix film or documentary, and people are wigging out. Her sisters and her nieces are like, is she seeing someone dying? And if so, who is it? What is going on? And that sends the family into a tailspin as we follow them preparing for this wake. It was a lot. There were some glowing moments of Elizabeth Acevedo's writing, but it just, I can't say that I thoroughly enjoyed it. I appreciated it. So, who is the winner of the NAACP Image Award for Outstanding Literary Fiction? Watch my video and find out. To fulfill my goal of reading some translated fiction novels this year, I decided to dive into What You Are Looking For Is in the Library. And oh my goodness, you guys, this book gave me all the feels. I read this book while I traveled to West Virginia to visit my family in my hometown. And I was cozied up with this book and my mom's two cats. There's a cat on the cover. It was a catastic time, if I do say so myself. My favorite quote from this book is, "The days go by more happily when you have something to dream about. It's not always a bad thing to have a dream with no plan for ever carrying it out." So what happens is there's this library attached to a community center, and different characters, these are short stories, different characters some way, somehow end up at this library looking for something very specific, and this librarian, who is very eclectic, ends up giving them a list, printing them out a list of books related to what they're looking for. And there's always this odd addition to the list that has nothing to do with what the individual's looking for. But yet and still, that is the book that each character ends up exploring. And it ultimately gets the character to a moment of revelation, an aha moment, a moment of just profound, deep understanding of what is next in their lives. It is amazing. It gives me before the coffee gets cold vibes, just so many words of wisdom, so many moments where I had to stop and really sit with what I was reading and use it to reflect on my own life. It was a wonderful, wonderful read. I am super excited that I checked it out in the month of March. And last but not least, my dear friend Katie loaned me her book that is titled What Happened to Ruthy Ramirez? And this book was one that fulfilled my Buzzwordathon word of the month about finding a book that has the character's name in the title. So I read this book. It was a very unique approach to exploring some topics around class, race, missing girls and young women, and what happens in the aftermath of those young women going missing. What's happening to their families? How are their families grappling with this and living their lives after losing, in a very profound and deeply emotional way, losing a loved one, because there's no finality to it, right? They don't know if that individual's dead or alive. And so if you're seeking a book that is offering representation in the Hispanic community, specifically in the New York City area, Staten Island here to be specific, and also looking to engage in conversations about missing minority girls, teens, race, and class, this is a very, very tangible book to explore all those things and start conversations. There's a reality TV show involved that the Ramirez women being Ruthy's two sisters, her oldest sister and her youngest sister, and her mother. They are connected to this reality TV show that really years and years past Ruthy's disappearance kind of forces them to unpack, if you will, their emotions and their feelings about Ruthy never being found or not knowing what ever happened to her. So it's short, it's sweet, but also deeply emotional. So check it out if you haven't already. Those are the books that I explored in March. What books did you read in March? Let your girl know in the comment section below. Also, let me tell you what I'm up to in April. Check out my April TBR video if you haven't already. And until next time, happy reading. Bye!